Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the MMLA Connect Podcast with your host, Steve Kik. Today I have a very close friend of mine, colleague, my manager and boss, Jake Williams from LMCU. Jake, great to have you. Love you, buddy. Excited to have you today.
The love is mutual, Steve. Thanks for having me. Excited to have this conversation. It's been great to see the podcast kind of grow over the last 6 to 8 months, and excited it's my turn.
Appreciate that, man. We got to keep the positive momentum for all 25 of our viewers,
So hey, no, those are the people that got on the ground floor, and it's only up from here. So
exactly. Yep. No, I enjoy this. It's an amazing opportunity, and I couldn't be more excited and feel the bromance in the air today for interviewing you. So
it is strong.
Yeah,
on and
exactly.
off camera. Yeah,
for sure. So let's get into it, Jake. Give us your title now, but also give us your career. Tell us about how you got to where you are in mortgage, how long you've been in there.
Sure.
Let's hear about Jake Williams' mortgage career.
Yeah, I'm a mortgage sales manager, so I have 19 loan officers across Michigan. I have some in Grand Rapids, Traverse City, and then also on the east side of the state, Saginaw, Grand Blanc. So moved into that position. I've been a producing sales manager for the past 2 years. Have gone into more of a non-producing role here at the beginning of the year. So I'm, new year, new challenges, and it's been really fun and getting to know some of our other loan officers in markets that, I know the name, but may not have had an opportunity to have a conversation with, and learning about the other business markets that we lend in and learning how I can kind of help them grow. So I started at LMCU in 2012, between my junior and senior year at Davenport. Went to a job fair, got a call. I didn't even know what LMCU was, and it's one of those things as once you learn about it, then you start to see it everywhere. And started as a teller. Was a
Same
member
here,
service.
baby.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the thing I love about LMCU is really they look to promote from within and really do a good job of looking at your internal talent and looking to use that in other segments of the business. So I was really beneficial that I've been able to do a couple things here, and I really haven't had to leave companies, which has been cool. So I was a teller for a while in MSR, realized that, I don't really want to be in retail banking. As an MSR, I think I mixed up the cash machine and put the 10s in the 20 spot and the 20 in the 10 spot. And so we had to spend half a day, fixing a cash machine. And I'm like, you know what? My anxiety can't handle this.
Gosh.
I'll work with $1 million of wired money, but when you put $20 in bills in my hands, I get a little nervous. So,
and there's people waiting in line for that cash money, and they're like, "What is this nincompoop doing?"
My checks are off, or I'm off $5. My stress level can't handle that. So I knew my degree was business management and financial management. Knew I wanted to do something. Loved LMCU, but wanted to do something more, I think, in the background, in the corporate setting. And with like a lot of people who get into mortgages, I just kind of fell into it. We were growing so quickly in mortgages. I applied for a fraud analyst position and one of our junior coordinator positions, what it was called at the time, basically the same day. And I was, responded to, interviewed, and got an offer in mortgages within like 72 hours. And I hadn't even heard from the other position. So for me, it was like, all right, corporate job. It was a bump in pay. Like, yeah, I'll do it. So I started right after my honeymoon in 2013. So I've been in mortgages and married.
Lots of changes right there.
Time. Yeah. So my mortgage anniversary is basically the same as my wedding anniversary. So shouldn't ever really
Hopefully
forget.
Easy to remember.
Hopefully easy to remember. Yeah. And so again, and it's kind of like, and I'm sure something you've experienced, something just kind of clicks, like kind of like a fish to water. And in that position, I knew what I was doing, but what frustrated me is I didn't know why I was doing it, because I had no experience in mortgages, maybe a year of financial experience. And so, I kind of took it upon myself to take all of the classes that we can take from mortgage insurance companies. I sat with senior processors, to really understand, like, why am I ordering a verification of employment? Why do we need our mortgagee clause on a homeowner's insurance policy? What does the flood cert do? Like why am I, what is an appraisal do? Like, why? I understood what I was doing, but I really wanted to understand why. And so that was really, and again, that kind of was that first step of, okay, I really do like this industry. I like, how fast paced it is, how we're helping people. And it also clicked with my personal skills of just kind of the puzzle piece and figuring out qualifications and, what we can do to get people in houses. But wasn't, again, necessarily in love with the operations side of it yet, because I didn't know. So then an opportunity presented itself to move to underwriting after I was a junior processor, and that was the condo reviews and basically the admin assistant for the underwriting team as a junior underwriter position. So again, I just
We
took it
loved
upon
you there,
myself.
by the way.
Oh,
It was
I
great
did.
working with you there.
Oh,
You did a good
thanks.
job.
Yeah,
Great
that
job.
was, don't ask me the condo guidelines, 13 years, 12 years past. But again,
We
so
have
that
people for
was,
that though, Jake. We have
we
people
do.
for that.
Now we
Like
do.
what you
Yeah.
were in. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it was learning, obviously, all of the condo guidelines, but then also sitting with the underwriters, watching them underwrite files, looking at all of our exceptions through credit committee, understanding why were we making what decisions, and then also starting to do a little bit of underwriting on some of our portfolio loans. And again, that was another step of, yes, this is the career path, this is the industry that I want to kind of make a name for myself and I want to move forward in. But I don't think underwriting is right for me. I didn't necessarily want to be working on the same files or getting 3 files in one day, taking 3 files out the next day. Obviously an important position. I think I would have driven myself a little bit crazy just kind of doing that and having that kind of same routine to the day. And I did miss the personal aspect of branch life, right? Working with the members, doing the application, solving their problems, and having that customer service aspect. So again, I reached out to our VP of sales at the time, Meg Dunn, and as a junior underwriter, nobody knew who I was. I reached out to her to see what a loan officer would look like and see what opportunities were there for me. So she explained, kind of how the loan or the life of a loan officer could look at LMCU. And luckily, a couple months later, an opportunity presented itself for me to go into our member direct team. So from there, I was a member direct. I went to outside sales relatively shortly, about 5 months after that. And then I was in outside sales until 2022 when we had some shifts and I was able to be a producing sales manager. So I'd say management was something that's been on my mind, which we'll probably talk about a few different things here as it results to MMLA.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to take that next step, and I was, again, afforded an opportunity to not give up my business, but still look at an opportunity of what it looks like to manage. So that started with a team of 5 that grew to 10 and now is 19. And again, I would say I'm kind of fully fledged on the management side of things as of January 1st, 2025. So it's a
Awesome.
short view, but it's been a great experience, and LMCU has been such a great place to work and has provided me with a lot of opportunities, and I'm just grateful for the ride so far and excited for the next 30 years. So
Jake,
still got a while to go. Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that you've been around in the mortgage
Yeah,
business,
it's
for
funny.
lack of
Yeah.
better terms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it all, right?
It's been 12 years. It's funny to think I am 34. I'll be 35 this year, but a third of my life has been in mortgages,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and I think, with some of the volume that we've been able to do, we may be 10-year industry, but our numbers probably say, we're closer to 20. We've probably done the production of what people who have been doing this 20 to 25 years. So our mortgage age, I feel like sometimes is a lot older than our physical age. We've gotten a
Sure.
lot of experience in a very short time, which again, I'm super grateful for. And it's been a
Absolutely.
great experience.
That's one of the things that in the industry is time in the industry is the only thing that can do what it does, right? Like you learn so much more the longer you're in the business because something new
Yeah.
comes up
Mm-hmm.
all the time, right?
Still learning.
I feel like weekly I have a scenario come up and I'm like, man, I've been in business for a decade or over a decade and I have never seen this before.
Yeah.
It's all the time. So
and that's one of the things that, again, is attractive and is fun, is that it isn't the same.
yeah.
Whether it's on a loan level basis or at a state or local or federal level, like, things are changing. We are advocating for changes. Sometimes the changes are being brought upon us, but it's our job to figure it out and continually put that puzzle together, which is, again, definitely keeps things interesting and not stagnant at all.
Yeah. It's a moving puzzle, right?
It's
like
yes,
it's constantly
absolutely.
changing. As soon as you get the pieces fit
Yep.
in there, it's like, well, we're going to change this thing.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
One of the things I wanted to also touch on that you talked about was really getting to know your job and learning it inside and out. And I feel like I did the same thing as a loan officer, right? Like, I dug deeper and I wanted to know, why are we ordering this? Not just ordering something. Like, what is the reason behind this? And that, can you talk about that a little bit more here? Because I think learning and continual learning is a huge part of any industry, any business, but definitely the mortgage industry.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tie it a little bit to competition. I'm a pretty competitive person. So when I put my head into something, I want to do it to my best ability. And I also want to beat other people or be the best that I can, in a certain, and there's collaboration and I'm certainly not, competing on things that would be negatively impactful, but I want to do a good job. I want to learn. Right. And I think that's, again, being curious and keeping a growth mindset too. And I think that plays into it, is just, is you always have something to learn. You're never going to know everything 100%. So it was just personally frustrating. It was an itch that I had to scratch of just why, it's not good enough for me to just kind of paper push, right? If I'm going to paper push, which is 100% needed, like, at least let me know why, so I can do it effectively and make sure that I'm doing it correctly. And that's just something, again, I think, having continuous education, keeping an open mind, being curious, I think are all things that you see successful people do. Closed-minded people, regardless of how talented they are, will have a plateau if they're not willing to kind of open their mind. And that's where I got to quote, Ted Lasso, is be curious, not judgmental. And I think that applies to a lot in our industry and the growth of people's career too.
One of the quotes I love to say to myself is, the more I learn, the less I know. The more my mind expands, the more I realize, wow, like, there's so much more out there that you just don't know about. So we got to always be learning, right?
Yeah. And you can learn from anybody and everybody, right? Regardless of if we're at a credit union and somebody else is a broker or in secondary or under, I mean, keeping your mind open and understanding where other people are coming from, right? We're salespeople by nature, so we have a certain way we like to do things, but also taking a step back and understanding from an organizational standpoint or from an industry standpoint why things are being done, I think makes you stronger in the end.
I think that's a good segue into the MMLA, Jake. I think part of the reason why you joined was educational opportunities, as we just spoke about. But let's talk about your MMLA journey. You're now the VP of the West chapter. You've been heavily involved. You've done the Future Leaders program. I'll let you talk a little bit more about it, but you are a big part of the MMLA, and you're a big reason why I joined. Or not necessarily, well, I guess I had been a member per se, but why I got involved. So tell us about your MMLA career and why you got involved.
Yeah, I think we talk about kind of keeping the growth mindset and keeping your mind open. I think, and I know for me, for the first part of my career, I just thought of myself as an LMCU employee who just happened to work in the mortgage industry. And I think once you get exposed to and kind of have your blinders off of them, what you realize that it's a small community, but it's a large industry. And there's so much more happening outside of the four walls of your institution. And I think I learned that when I did the MBA Future Leaders in 2019. So I had helped out on one MMLA committee, maybe 2018, 2019 for the golf outing. I had less than a foot in the door. I didn't really understand, but then going through the MBA Future Leaders, which is a fantastic program, which is basically a year long. You do, you're selected for, it's a group of probably 35 to 40 people from across the country, all different industries or segments of the industry. And you do 3 in person, 2 in DC, 1 at the annual conference. You do a group long project, and you just get to learn and grow with other people who are looking to advance their careers as well in the industry. So I think going through that experience, understanding, I'm not just an LMCU employee. And as I wanted to grow my career, I am a mortgage professional. I want to help grow and make an impact on all levels. So I think that's kind of what led me to MMLA was, how can I get involved in the trade association, in the industry, and start making an impact? So I would say 2022, 2023 was probably when I really started to get involved with the board. And then I did the MMLA version of Future Leaders, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. And then, this is 2 years as secretary at the West chapter, now as VP. But it was just realizing, okay, I want to do more. I have more to contribute. And I want to learn from other people in the industry. And so I think the MMLA is a perfect opportunity to do that, with relationships and then support and then the impact that you can make. And it's been nothing but a positive experience.
Yeah. I mean, we are super thankful to have you as a part of the MMLA. Your advocacy and your willingness to go to conferences for the MBA on behalf of, LMCU and the MMLA. Yeah. We really do appreciate that. I think what I wanted to talk about as well today, and I think what you are working on, is some stuff with the MBA's Future Leaders program. So can you tell us what you have going on with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I got to give a shout out. We'll talk about at least the MMLA Future Leaders, right? That was the brainchild of Victoria DeLuce, who was my MBA Future Leaders classmate. And every time we see her, we joke because her team won and my team got second. So she's got some bragging rights there. But she was looking to bring that. I know, right? Bring that to a local level, which our MMLA Future Leaders, again, is, and you don't have to be a young professional to do that. You can be anybody who's looking to grow their career. You're learning about kind of the different facets of the business, presentation skills, tying in all of those sections of the industry for a group project that gets, it's almost like a Shark Tank where you go and present your idea to potential investors and they ask you questions on the spot. And I would encourage anybody to do that process. So I know that's going to be kind of revamped this year. I think you'll see more more in-person opportunities for that. So if you've been on the fence the past couple of years, I think this is the year to jump in and take a look at what that looks like. And that would, again, possibly be a good stepping stone to do the annual or to do the national, which is going to be very similar, but on a much bigger and more in-depth scale. So it would be a really good practice. What I'm involved in at the MBA level or the national level is Impact, which is the MBA's Young Professional Network. So I'm on their leadership committee, and that's run by a great team at MBA, especially Ashley Yarbanek, on the director of relations there. And so what we're really looking to do is provide opportunities for young professionals, one, to get together and do that at a national level. We're trying to get that done at a local level as well, for us to share experiences, share stories, if somebody's had an issue, there's probably somebody else experiencing that as well. So providing opportunities for young professionals to connect and help further their career. Again, people like you and me who have probably had the blinders taken off and understanding that we're part of a bigger industry. And so as other young professionals are kind of realizing that as well, giving them that community at conferences, through webinars. Also, again, looking at opportunities to bring that to the local level as well, which we'll be doing on April 16th. We'll have our first local MBA Impact Happy Hour here in Grand Rapids that we're going to be inviting everybody from Michigan and
Nice.
future leaders as well. That'll be at the Garage Bar. More details to come. But just,
Looking
again,
forward to it.
trying to, again, connect those people because, and I think one of the big things we're trying to change is, and as you've experienced, I've had this experience, you've probably had this experience, a lot of people on the podcast, is people have gotten into mortgages by accident. And I think that's something that we're trying to change. It's a great career path. It's a great industry. So why it's such, a worst kept secret, or why people just accidentally get into it, I think is the MBA is trying to change. And I know that's working with the Impact. That's something that I want to change as well, is I want people in school, in college, thinking, what industry can I go into, and having that be just as big of an option as accounting, commercial lending. I don't want, if I can help someone make a proactive decision to get into this industry, because it's changing and it is turning over. We see on countless surveys the average age of loan officers is, 5 to 7 years out of retirement. So we have to replenish because, we need people in this industry and we need people advocating for it. So, we are the next generation, and the generation who needs to start kind of taking that microphone. So if we can start getting those other people in, that's why I joined, and I wanted to be involved at that level and bring it down to the MMLA as well. It's great to have it at the national level, but that's 50 states. That's hard to tie together. So we need people on the ground floor making that connection. And so that's really what my focus has been for this year, as I got involved with Impact last year.
Well, you're definitely passionate about what you do, Jake, and you are making an impact, wherever you go. So we appreciate that.
Oh,
I want
thanks.
to talk a little bit about the selfless act of being a loan officer, building a business, and then getting to a point where you say, I am stepping away from that business, everything that I've built for years, because I know what I've put in mentally, physically, financially,
Sure.
It's a lot. It's a big commitment when you're building your business to say, I am better served helping others build their business and keeping them move along instead of worrying about my own. So I want to talk about that, Jake, because that's a pretty selfless move.
Yeah, that's generous of you. Thank you. I guess I'll quote the great Charlie Conway from Mighty Ducks D2 is, I make a better coach than a player.
Yeah.
He gave up his spot to a player who was better and sat on the bench and helped them win the Junior Goodwill Games against Iceland. So, as everybody knows, the great 90s clac Mighty Ducks D2.
Thank you for quoting that. One of the greatest movies ever, series ever. Love the Mighty Ducks.
I think that's where my passion lies. And I think that's, again, where my talent, I'm a good loan officer, but I think I'm better suited in a position, again, to support loan officers. And I think that's what fills my bucket. That's what fuels my fire. I'm more excited for a loan officer to achieve one of their goals and to have a small part in that. I'm not doing anything. I'm just helping support than me, When I look at our report, Steve, you have $5 million in applications this month. I look at that every day, and I'm more excited to see your name on that than I would be mine.
Yeah.
Right. That's just, and just help, being able to be a sounding board, whether it be in whatever, however I can help somebody, because everybody's different. That's just really where my passion lies. And it took me a while to figure that out. I was at a crossroads for a while of what I wanted to do. But I just think that's where my talents lie, what I think what I'm better at, and what my passion is that support. And that's really how I view this is a support role, right? I mean, I'm here to support you or any of my other loan officers achieve success how it's determined by them. Everybody's success is different. One person's success could be
100%.
closing $1 million a month. The other could be 10, right? And each of them are equally difficult depending on the person and equally substantial and should all be celebrated. So I just have looked at it as that support role, and that's what I've been working towards for the past 3 or 4 years. And that's just what I'm excited to do. So it is bittersweet, right? I mean, the relationships that I've built, the people that I've worked with for, some people 10 years, as far as kind of our real estate agents, it is hard, right? Because
Absolutely.
you have built up a business that you've maintained. But again, so it's a little bittersweet, but it's just exciting to move towards where my end goal is. As I've kind of said throughout this, I have a vision. I have where I want things to go. This is the trajectory that I want. So I'm excited for that. So it makes it a little bit easier. But it is, I mean, yeah, you go from having a direct impact in the home buying process, which can be very rewarding, to doing it from more of a backseat role. But by empowering and helping those loan officers, they're going to be able to go help more people than I could ever do personally. So that's kind of makes it a little bit of an easier transition.
This role is kind of tailor made for you, Jake. I think you're one of those people that has always been a good, manager. You know how to make your point and do it in a way that's tactful, and also keeps things, I think, to a minimum, right? You're not,
Sure.
There's not too much fluff either, right? So it's like, hey, let's get things done. Let's do it the right way. But you're also very good at seeing both sides of things too, which is super important in, being a manager.
You.
So
yeah,
we're excited to have you, man.
No, thank you. And again, there's plenty of things that I could be better at and that I'm learning about, but we all have experience in dealing with leaders where we're like, I would have rather handled it this way, or that's exactly how I would handle that situation. So just like everything, it's a work in progress. I'll be a better leader in 2 years than I am today, but I'm a better leader here than I was 2 years ago. So it's just, and it's just, part of my ongoing goals in my never-ending quest is, leadership is a muscle. It has to be worked, or else it'll atrophy and die. And if you think you've learned, like you said, if you think you've learned it all, even on a, call it not a technical skill, like, putting in a 1003 or doing a pre-approval, but the leadership side of thing is equally important and needs to be worked as well. So work in progress, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's worth pointing out when you see people make moves like that. It's pretty cool. So I just applaud you for that, Jake.
Thanks, man.
So you're 34 right now, you said, right?
I am.
34 years young. So you're the perfect example for these, if you're a loan officer or you're in the mortgage industry, and you're like, where can I go? What can I do? At 34 years old, you're a salesman, you've moved to a non-producing sales role. And you're, involved in the MBA and MMLA leadership positions with both. Pretty cool. You're a pretty shining example for the young folks out there who might think, how do I break into the industry? It's possible, and we need you.
Oh, yeah.
We need young people to get involved and to learn about the mortgage industry. The average age is 55 or older of a loan officer.
55.
Somewhere around there, which is just mind-boggling. So, but enough about mortgage, Jake. You have a family. You're a dad. You're a great dad. A great husband. Can you tell us a little bit about what you got going on outside of LMCU? What brings you joy, and who Jake Williams is?
Yeah, absolutely. My wife Taryn, we've been married for 12 years. It'll be 12 years in August. I have my son Finn, who will be 8 next month, my daughter Poppy, who's 5, and then Lincoln is 2. So really what I've got going on in my life is work and dad life, right? And with 3 kids, leaves little room for hobbies, right? I get from probably 10 to 10:45 of personal time, but it's great. I mean, both my 2 older kids are getting in the age of competitive sports. So we
That's
are
fun.
at, dance twice a week, baseball twice a week. They'll both be playing baseball and t-ball, competitively in the spring and summer. My son likes football. So, we are just all over the place, right? So it's work, and then it's taxi driver from 4 to 6, and then it's working in a parking lot, getting kids ready to go to bed, and then we're doing it all over. But it's a rewarding experience. It's one of those things where when either the kids are gone or if I'm at a conference or something, it's like, wow, I'm bored. Like I have
Yeah.
one day of
Yeah.
quiet, and it's like, man,
Right.
this is boring. Like
I
what
miss
would
my
I do?
kids. I
What would
miss
I
my
do?
family.
Yeah, what would I do if I didn't have this going on? So again, we love to travel as a pack. We do spring breaks. We do a fun Vegas trip every year. That's where our honeymoon was. As poor college kids, my wife's brother has a timeshare, so we got to go there for free, and we've made it back every year since. So our kids
I
are
love
well
that.
versed in the travel, and it's been a fun tradition that we've done for, again, I think this will be trip 14 or 15 coming up. So
Wow. That's
and
cool.
I think for this year, what I've tried, balance has been kind of my key word. I have a competitive, probably borderline addictive personality. I can very narrow in on one particular thing. So I think for this year is trying to provide that intensity and that intensiveness to kind of everything, right? I want to be fully, work to my full capacity at work, right? But I also want to put that energy into being a dad in my family, but also into myself as well, right? I mean, we can't take care of others until we take care of ourselves, which is easier said than done sometimes. So I think for me, just trying to really round out that life wheel and try to, it's never going to be perfect, but for me, that's what I've been trying to do is, take care of myself, make sure that I'm putting in my best effort at work, and then also putting in my best effort at home.
You
So
can't pour into someone else's cup when yours is empty, right, Jake?
no,
So
and again, I'm guilty of, I've pushed that off. I've been on one end of the spectrum where I've put that ahead of everything else, and then there's other times where I've put that very last. And so kind of coming into the new year, it's, again, I'm just trying to balance everything out and make sure that I'm giving that equal effort to everything. And sometimes it switches, right? It's never going to be perfect, but doing my
yeah,
best to make sure that, because we do, at the end of the day, we do this for our families, and that's who's going to be there at the end. So, making sure not losing sight of that's just,
yeah.
been important.
One thing that I really appreciate and about your relationship with your wife is that you guys do a date night, and
We
you do
do.
that. Is it weekly?
No, oh God, that'd be nice, but expensive. No, we do it monthly. So
Okay.
this was the beginning of 23. And again, this was all her. She said, we are going to find a babysitter, pay, and we're going to go out every month, no exception. So we've done that. Again, this will be year 3. And that's been a game changer. We got, again, wrapped up in the kid life, right? Family life. And we would use babysitters or family for special events, right? If we were going to a friend's birthday, or, we got tickets to a Griffins game to go for industry stuff. Like that's what we would get babysitters for, but we would never take that time for ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's been phenomenal, and it's been great for our relationship. And again, hopefully something we continue to do for a long time.
You guys are a great example.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I
Thanks.
I love watching from afar and seeing your
Oh,
family. You have a
thanks.
beautiful family and a
Oh,
beautiful
thanks.
relationship. So
Thanks, man.
I'm cheering you on, man. You've told us about your career and a little bit about your why. But let's talk about me and you. We both work at LMCU.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great things about our company, Jake. But is there anything in particular that's going on at LMCU right now that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I think I've been really excited and really proud of us championing, I don't know the word, being
Yeah,
a
I'm not sure
champion
either.
of, so there you go, being a champion of, one, first-time home buyers, and seeing all of our Crash My closings that we do. where we celebrate really unique stories for first-time home buyers and really making it a positive experience and kind of, again, crashing and surprising them at closing with a bunch of gifts. And we've had some really good stories from all over our footprint that have really given a good reminder of why we do things. So that's been awesome. And then also just the increased support and initiatives we've had in the community lending space. You go to any conference or any class and you hear about the home ownership gap, right? And how some communities who have been disenfranchised have really kind of fallen behind and been left behind when it comes to housing. So when we brought John Harpson, who's our vice president of community lending, come in, and that's something that's been a focus of ours probably for the last 2 years. And I think we've seen kind of that 2 years of groundwork start to come through at the end of 24 and 25, whether it be our down payment assistance program, our 100% financing programs, our commitment to get better with government loans and loans that can help those communities, I think is really exciting for me to see, because that's what we hear a lot at the national level and some of the statistics on it are staggering and quite heartbreaking. So to see us do that as a company, to say we're going to lift up those communities and be able to provide an outlet for them so that they can have generational wealth, they can achieve home ownership, which again is the biggest indicator of generational wealth, and help make a positive impact on that through our individual efforts of some of our individuals, but also as a company, has been super cool to see. So I'm really excited to see where that takes us in 25 and 26 and beyond.
The thing about LMCU that I love so much is that we do so much in the community and we care. Being here I've been a member for 30 years and now an employee for 15. And that just, I love where I work. I love where I bank, and we are committed to, helping as many home buyers, regardless of your financial position. And we have made an extended commitment to become better at community lending and increasing those products. And we do have so many products that can help first-time home buyers or people who, have low to moderate income, right? So grant programs as well, money that the government's giving away. All right, Jake, as we wrap it up here, I always ask everyone to leave us with something positive for the mortgage industry, or for people in general, whatever positive spin you want to give us. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
What's your positive take for 2025?
My positive take, I guess, is a call to action is jump in. If you're waiting for your invitation, this is it. If there's something you want to do, a board you want to join, if there's you want to learn about a particular job within your company, ask, right? They're not going to invite you to the table if they don't know that you want to be there. So that's something that I've tried to do my whole career, is ask, right? Is ask to meet with that person. If they're 2 or 3 levels above me, the worst they can say is no. And oftentimes, if you work for a supportive company, they'll meet with you. And we've been blessed at LMCU that I could go to pretty much anybody here and ask, and they would be more than willing to spend their time and help me learn. So if there's something that you want to do it, right? There's nobody is going to force you to start. And so, and again, for that, and that can be utilized at anything, but I guess specifically for our industry is please get involved, right? The thing that we hear a lot at the national level from some of the people at MBA is, if you are not at the table, you're on the menu. So if we want to be a part of these conversations and we want to make some of these changes, we need to be actively involved in those conversations. So if you think that you're just a loan officer, just a processor, just a sales manager, you're not. You're part of something bigger. And if you want to have a hand in how those things go, ask to join MMLA. If you know someone in MMLA, ask them how are they making an impact, and how can you be a part of that conversation? So my take is, if you even have half a thought, jump in with both feet. You won't regret it, and you'll just help make our industry better.
Yeah, for sure. We have to have people. I learned this lesson, I feel like, a little bit of the hard way, because I kind of worked hard and put my head down with blinders on and just thought that the opportunities would come. And as you say it, nobody's going to give that opportunity to you if you're not asking for it. Right.
Right.
So the last couple of years I've changed and I've started asking those questions and talking to those people and trying to meet with people that maybe I didn't think I could meet with before. And now it becomes like, hey, they want to meet, they want to help there's a lot of people that want to help in this industry too. And that's what's been so great that I've realized.
Absolutely. And and again, just to round it out, the MMLA is the perfect opportunity for that, for us to come together with people in the same industry, regardless of channel or company. And we're working just to make home ownership more affordable and more accessible for people. Has been, again, I will never regret getting involved. And it's been such a good experience. And again, anybody who's even remotely interested, reach out to us. And I would love to share that experience with you.
Same. Well, Jake, thank you so much for spending your time with me today and our listeners. Glad to have you. It was wonderful. Thank you for listening to the podcast. We hope to have you back next time listening to the MMLA Connect podcast. Thanks again, Jake.
No problem. Love you, buddy.
You too.